Can you tell me about, did it mean something to you to be establishing this within the university structure?
Oh, heavens, yes. That was the only thing. I wouldn't have thrived at another hospital.
Can you elaborate? Why was it important to you? Can you introduce it?
First of all, I grew up across the street from the University Hospital. I used to drive to class, to the old med school, which was 4 blocks. And I just identified with the hospital. There's a picture when the Queen visited in 1939, walking up a sidewalk which doesn't exist anymore to a place called the Wells Pavilion. Someone took a picture of that particular scene of her getting out of this old, nice new Buick, walking up the sidewalk, and across the street was this little kid in a white suit that my mother had made. And that gives you an example of it. And when I retired, they gave me a picture, a painting, of the Mewburn Pavilion through 5 trees that my father had planted in 1938. So I've been at the university for a long time.
When you went back to Edmonton, who else was there? Who were your colleagues there?
The only other gastroenterologist was Dick Sherbaniuk. And there were no tools. The only gastroscope in the hospital had been there for 10 years. And it was 53 glass lenses, end to end. And you could see a little bit of the stomach with it. Like not much. And at the same time, there was a rigid esophagoscope that you put in like a sword swallower. So you could look at the esophagus and look at the stomach, but more or less blindly. We pleaded to get new gastroscopes, pleaded to have better facilities. We started to do endoscopy in the back room in the emergency department and asked the emergency room nurse whether they could help us. Well then, after each case, in those days we used much heavier sedation than they do now, we lined the cases, the post-operative cases up in the hallways. And sometimes we had 6 or 8 people on end-to-end stretchers between our back room and the front of the emergency department. And it was safe because there were people walking by every 30 seconds and they could tell us whether or not some of these patients were in trouble. So then eventually we got better facilities and better instruments.
How did you find managing your practice and setting up a division?
Well, the first years were tough because Dick and I were doing consults at the Misericordia, at the Old General Hospital, at the Royal Alec, and at the U, because we were the only gastroenterologists. And in certain situations, general internists fell in over their heads. And so we saw these consults after hours, at night, emergency, weekends, and that sort of stuff. I know that there were days in which we took time off completely for a full day to give exams to medical students. And I know we had journal clubs, which was really more for GI trainees and such. But we contributed in a brief time financially, for a long time by carrying the load clinically, really providing consultative services for the other hospitals for quite some time. We had something to offer knowledge-wise that they didn't have. And I think that built the reputation of gastroenterology as a worthwhile entity. That was the wonderful thing about the university hospital, that she always kept up, because if you didn't know, some kid did. Not kid, but some clinician, a budding clinician. You could teach. You were in a place where you learned from the residents, and that's a wonderful phenomenon. And you got kept right up to date and did what you bloody well wanted, which was wonderful.
If you had to say, listen, here is what I want on my tombstone about the University of Alberta and my contribution to gastroenterology, what would it be? I mean, what do you think?
I can't really answer that. I can only tell you that Joan's epitaph on her bench is a life of love, harmony, and sunshine. Now, I don't know that you can encapsulate my life and my career in anything as simple as that. But part of it certainly was love of academics and the proximity of academics. The opportunity to see things evolve, that was exciting. And to see the surgical or the specialty take hold in our city, which had been, in 15 years it went from nothing to a lot of activity in gastroenterology. So I guess growth would be part of that.
You started the division. Did you, throughout your career, have a lot of influence in shaping the division? Did you continue to be involved in shaping the division?
Well, no. Once Weinstein got there and there was more academic activity, I really didn't have much to do other than my assigned teaching and trying to provide an example. But I wasn't visionary or a director. I didn't make things happen. I was just there.
John, I'm taking an exception to that, because he did make things happen, and he was a leader, so don't accept his humble stuff.
That will not be a quote on the website, that you did not make a contribution. And it sounds like you have quite...
You know what? You can't leave it like that. I mean, you worked so hard seeing all these patients, and it's a clinical division, and that's what drove it.
That's right. Well, I guess what both Dick and I wanted to do was to be the best doctors possible in the field of gastroenterology, which was new in Edmonton, and we introduced it. So I think we both had that vision of providing service and academic leadership to the extent that we could.
That was
Is that okay?
That was excellent.